Welcome back to Kidsplaining.
I'm Jared, and this is my dad, and today we're taking a look at Hivernation from Ramstar Games, which is hitting Kickstarter on April 13th.
Yep, Hivernation is a tile-laying area control game that has some very similar mechanics to like Othello and Reversi, but it also has some things that make it very, very unique. So the setup of the game is really simple. The queen goes in the middle of the table. Each player gets 10 tiles each, and they're two-sided, so they just get 10 tiles and turn them over to the correct side. And then they take turns laying tiles. What you're trying to do is to bracket other players' tiles with your color, and then you flip them over. And your goal is to take over the hive.
Hivernation at its core is a two-player game. You can play with two teams of two, but it's really just a two-player game.
Yeah, and it's a really good two-player game. It's easy to set up. Again, it takes 30 seconds to take it out of the box and get it set up. You know, put the queen on the table, give each player their tiles, and you're ready to go. There's no board to set up. You just play on the tabletop. And I grew up playing Othello a lot. I really like the game. Still like the game. It's a great abstract game. Again, this borrows some of the mechanics from it, or it uses some of the same mechanics. But having the queen in the middle of the table and having a piece that you work around, because you can't work across the queen. I couldn't do that and flip this because the queen blocks that. So having just the sole fact that you have this piece in the middle of the table that blocks lines on the table completely changes the strategy of the game, and the fact that they're hexagons and it's not set up in a grid like Othello and Reversi or like some of those other games. It's a hexagon, so there's 6 sides, there's just a lot of different lines, a lot of different ways that you have to think about your strategy.
And something that I like about it is that the artwork is really cool. I like how the hexagons are, instead of being just squares around other squares, it's hexagons, which makes it look more like a hive than just an entire grid of pieces. I also like how the orange tiles have a bunch of hexagons around them like a hive, while the drones, which really don't do much in a hive, don't have anything around them because they're not actually working around that area. So it just gives it more of a realistic feel to me.
And the creator of the game actually airbrushed all of these. And if you go to their Instagram, which we'll leave a link in the description, you can actually find videos of him creating all of the characters. But they airbrushed them, shrunk them down to get them onto the tiles. But he put a lot of work, a lot of thought into the tiles, to the artwork of the game. And something I really like is that they're not all the same. It would have been really easy just to make 20 tiles that all had the same 2 pictures on each side, but they put a lot of work into coming up with at least a few different characters, a few different bees for each color. So the artwork is outstanding. You have some of these special tiles that have the flowers that are just beautiful, that really, again, just so much thought, so much work went into the artwork in this game.
So if you look at the front of the rulebook, you can actually see the names of each of the different flowers, bees, and the different tiles. And I just think if you were playing with younger kids, then they could add like a story to it. Like if you were playing Hazel, you could say, so Hazel goes over here and turns this drone into a worker.
Yeah, it shows that kind of stuff to us, shows the amount of thought that goes into the game, not just creating the mechanics of the game, but creating a story for the game and creating stuff, like Jared said, that helps especially younger players engage in the game at a deeper level. So the basic mechanic of the game, again, you're trying to bracket the other players' bees with your bees, and you flip over the ones that are in between those. And once you're comfortable with that, what's really cool about the game is it has a whole different set of specialty tiles that you can add in that really add a ton of strategy.
The flowers let you flip over all the bee tiles next to them, so the flowers can really let you get a big change on the game. And the bear, if you put it somewhere like here, you could block these 2 bees. So you get to put a paw on all the bees surrounding the bear, which means that you can't flip them.
Yeah, it locks any tiles with the bear paw on it are locked, and they can't be flipped, but you can still use them for flipping other tiles.
Yeah. So you can't do this, but with them you could still do this and flip this bee over. So it really adds, like I said, another change in the game. The buzzkill or pesticides takes away all the bees surrounding it, and if there's bees that aren't connected to Queen Zizi, then those bees get eliminated too.
Yeah.
So
if you put that one here, it would get rid of these bees, but it would also, and this one that you put it on, but it would also disconnect these from the hive, so it goes away.
And using that, in one game, we eliminated a big section of the hive, and we ended up with something, we ended up with only
there were like three
tiles.
Yep.
And the beekeeper lets you take a tile out of the discard pile that you use immediately.
Yep.
So you can take another pesticides out of the discard pile and use it again, even though it might even destroy yourself.
So this game is really, it's a great 2-player game. We really like 2-player games in our family. Jared and I play a lot of 2-player games. He and Peyton play together. Allison and I play together. So this game really, it checks off all the boxes that we like in our family for a game. It's great adult versus adult, adult versus kid, or kid versus kid. There's no language in it. There's no reading to be done. So there's really, as long as you can understand the concepts of flipping tiles and doing that, there's nothing that's gonna keep younger kids from playing it. It is a great, again, it can be as simple or as complex as you want it to be as far as strategy. You can play with just the bees, where you're just surrounding tiles and flipping them over, or you can add in the specialty tiles and really make it a pretty deep game, a pretty strategy heavy game. So we've really enjoyed playing it. We've played it quite a bit. Again, it can be 4 players, but at its core, it's a 2-player game, and it is a really great 2-player game.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite part about the game?
My favorite part about it is the flowers. I love how they can change everything really, really quickly from one side winning to the other side winning. And how you can even use flowers to change it so that it's right back, but one of the sides is still winning, right back to how it was before.
Yeah. And I really felt like when we first played it, it felt like a lot of these things were going to make the game pretty lopsided, that the specialty tiles were too powerful, or that whoever went last in just a game without the specialty tiles was going to win because they were just going to flip over a bunch of tiles on their last turn. But that didn't turn out to be the case. So even though he could put the flower here and turn all these, my next turn I could put an orange one here and flip all these. So even though the specialty tiles are really strong, they don't make the game completely lopsided. Found that it's all of the elements of it really seem to be really well balanced.
And there are some other variations in the rule book, but the 2 that we've played we think are really fun, and the other variations are probably fun too.
Yeah. So there's a few different ways you can play. You can start out, again, the base game is just playing with 10 tiles each. You can play with 20 tiles each and make it a much longer game. You can play with the specialty tiles, but every version of the game that we've played it's been really fun. We've really enjoyed it. So this game hits Kickstarter on April 13th. If you like 2-player games, if you like this kind of mechanic, it's definitely worth taking a look at. And we will leave the link to the Kickstarter in the description, and also to their Instagram, so you can see those videos, them airbrushing the characters and creating those, because those are really cool. It's just really neat to see the thought that went into this game.
Yeah.
So that's Hivernation. We hope you'll check it out.
Thanks for watching.
Yep. We'll see you next time.
Bye.